And now, from the playing field of Banneker to the locker room of RFK Stadium, it's Inside Sports with your host, Harold Bell.
Well, Harold has been a crusader for the rights of black people all of his life. He has also been a crusader that have had a lot of friends, not only in the black community, but the white community in sports. And he's one of my friends over the years. We've done many things together. So Harold is truly a man that believes in his culture and his people and will always be that way because nobody's ever been able to change him. So, hey, that's my partner.
In the sports world today, everyone claims to be an insider. Harold Bell is the original insider. Washington Times sports columnist Dick Heller says Harold Bell is the godfather of sports talk. The good kind. He played message music such as Wake Up Everybody by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, What's Going On by his homeboy and friend Marvin Gaye, and the James Blount classic Black and Proud. He was the first on-air sports talk show personality to write commentaries and the first to host sports media roundtables. Harold Bell is the man for all seasons. He was the first sports media personality to involve pro athletes, politicians, judges, entertainers, and media personalities in his community endeavors. In November 1974, he became the first Afro-American to host and produce his own sports television special in prime time on NBC affiliate WRC-TV4 in Washington, D.C. His special guest, the greatest, Muhammad Ali.
And they say that friendship is like our shadows. They're sticking with you as long as you're in the sun, but once you cross over into the shade, the shadow disappears. How do you distinguish your friends?
Well, I wrote something once that says, friendship is a priceless gift that cannot be bought nor sold, but its value is far greater than a mountain made of gold. For gold is cold and lifeless, it can neither see nor hear. In time of trouble, it's powerless to cheer. It has no ears to listen, no heart to understand. It cannot bring you comfort or reach out a helping hand. So when you ask God for gifts, be thankful if he sends, not diamonds, pearls, or riches, but the love of real true friends.
This is Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the whole wide world. I want all of you to check out Inside Sports with my main man, Harold Bell. Inside Sports, it's a knockout.
Right, welcome to Speak the Truth. My name's Gary Johnson. Mr. Bell, I run blackmeninamerica.com. But before we talk about anything today, I just want to take a few minutes and talk about how important it is to vote. I got jacked up watching the local news here in my town, and they interviewed a brother, young brother, probably in his late 30s, maybe mid 30s. And he spent 6 years serving this country in the US Army. He's now back and he's raising his young daughter, and he is not going to vote. And I just could not believe that we got a young black man that's not going to vote. And I just wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in the next 60 seconds about how important it is to vote. Black folks are projected to account for about 14% of all votes later this week in the election. We make up nearly half of the votes in DC. 7 in 10 black people are eligible to vote, but I don't know how many are going to vote. And for me personally, you know, I can't understand why this race in Georgia is that close. I have no, well, then again, maybe I could, because Herschel Walker's been used to having people tell him what to do most of his life, and so I don't know. I just can't understand why that vote is so close. But the choice for Black Americans is not the question for me of which party holds power. It's how that power is going to be used. And if you don't think your vote matters, especially in the local elections where you live, where you live, it matters. It's just your way of life. So folks, go out and vote. Go out and vote. Anybody want to come in on this? Mr. Bell, you coming in here? You ready?
Yes,
I done
I'm
made
ready.
the shameless plug about voting. We just got to vote. I've already voted, so I'm ready.
I have to. I guess we got some responsible individuals with us, but I'm quite sure they know the importance of voting. Amen. It's extremely important that we go to the polls and encourage those around us, family and friends, to go out to vote. The vote is very important. And I know you can become discouraged with what you see that's going on around us, but we still got to go to the polls. We got to vote. These are the people that are going to be supposed to be making changes for us. They don't always do, but I guess it's got to be like the lottery. one of these 4 years, we're gonna hit the lottery with these politicians. Anyway, today it's a very exciting time for me because I'm excited because of a guy that has really carried himself like a gentleman, a guy, no nonsense guy that's been in the game for a long time and didn't look like he was going to be able to make it to win a World Series. And buddy, did he win a World Series? And I'm talking about Dusty Baker. We're going to have, I don't see my special guest, but anyway,
he's on.
He's on. Okay. I want to introduce him through a video that we had on several shows ago, maybe a couple of years ago. I want to introduce him. Gary.
All right.
Yourself, Bert. I'm mute.
Okay, mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate John getting on me and sending me the email to get on. I didn't know about it, but it sure is great. My opinion about the stats in the Negro League, I'm from West Oakland, California. Played minor league ball, played in Japan, spent time with the national coaches in Cuba, worked with a lot of players that's playing in the big leagues. I got 5 guys I work with right now in the big league. One of the issues, and I'm hoping that at some point in time you address it, Ken Griffey Jr. just was awarded a position with MLB in reference to diversity. And I responded to his Instagram retweet and simply said, the issue is we don't have Black ownership. If we have Black ownership, then how do you think, or you guys on the line that are players or know about players, how do you think the field would look? The difference in the type of play? What would we be doing? The reason why white people, and I'm saying people other than African Americans, came to the Negro League because it was entertainment. Go to Japan and watch them play. Watch the pom-pom girls on top of the dugout. Watch the music. Watch what's going on. The Negro League was entertainment. I fall asleep at a big league game now in the 3rd inning. There's only 2 things going to happen real good. There's going to be a lot of strikeouts, no running, no hit and run, no bunting, ill-adroited strategy, and all of that. So all I'm saying is that, and I told Griffey Jr. because I know his dad played the minor leagues against him. And I said, you guys need to push for Black ownership. I'm talking about real Black ownership. Because I'm in the South now for the 2nd time. And the best athletes in the world, and I told John Hollis this. See, I came from Frank Robinson, Vader Pinson, Tommy Harper, Curtis Flood, Jesse Gonda, Pumpsy Green, all from my same neighborhood. You follow me? So these are guys I know from Joe Morgan. Wasn't Joe Morgan, it was Little Joe. So you follow what I'm saying? So what I'm saying to us, we got to have Black ownership.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce our special guest today. We've had him on several times, and I had to run him down because he moved from Atlanta back home on the West Coast, and he's now coaching. He's from a family of professional ball players, and he's now coaching. He's back where he's coaching a junior college team in San Francisco, I think. I would like to welcome the one and only Mr. Bert Strane. How you doing, Bert?
Hey, I'm celebrating. I started last night. I know we're going to get into it, But I told Harold earlier, before the series started, I've known Dusty since 1967. I recruited him at college, University of Santa Clara, and I told him point blank, don't come here. And the reason why I told him that is because Dusty was not recruited as a baseball player. Believe me, I spent time with him last year at the World Series, and I finally asked him the question, Dusty, why didn't you tell me? And I have an identical twin. We both did the same thing, pro ball, drafted 3 times, the whole bit. I said, Dusty, why didn't you tell me that you were a baseball player when you came for the recruiting visit? He says, well, I worked out for the head coach, and he says I wasn't good enough to be a Division I player. So I was too embarrassed to tell you guys. I said, Dusty, if you had told me, you would have been our starting player, plus we'd have won the College World Series. But as it was, he signed 2 weeks later with the Atlanta Braves, which is a whole nother story. But I go back a long way with Dusty, and I just simply said before the World Series started, Dusty, I want for my 75th birthday, which is December the 24th. We talk all the time. I said, I want 2 things. I want the Astros to win the World Series. And the second thing, I want 2 of your wristbands with the photos signed. And I'm going to wear them all year in my inaugural season of coaching junior college here in Northern California. And he sent me a text back and said, you got it. Well, he's already given me half of my 75th birthday present. And I'm looking for the other half. That's just that story. But Harold, I got to tell all the guys, what we talked about ownership is becoming more apparent because you and everybody else says, where are the brothers? Well, there wasn't any on the roster because Brantley was hurt. Where are the brothers? In Atlanta, Georgia, it's the mecca of youth baseball. We had the top 3 or 4 guys in the draft from Atlanta, right there, $1 million guys. And the problem comes in whether you're drafted or not. It's called opportunity. Me and Mr. Bell talked about this. Opportunity. You can play all the games you want, but if you don't get that one guy that likes you, you could be Willie Mays reincarnated and don't get a job. I got Alonzo Powell now, big league hitting coach, Giants, World Series ring with the Astros. He's not working right now. Big league hitting coach, no hitting. So we got to own a ball club. Again, why don't we have players playing in the World Series? Real simple. Opportunity. Well, where did the opportunity come from? It doesn't come from paying $3,500 or $4,200 to pay travel ball. As I told you, Mr. Bell, real important, USTA, I'm a pro tennis coach also, built an academy in Orlando, Florida. You're a tennis player and you're on the radar, you go for free. Your lodge for free. Your training is free. Your transportation is free. Now, in the Dominican, where all these players are coming from, and I'm not knocking them, where all they come from, where's that type of academy in the United States? It does not exist. Because 1, we have to go to school. But what did Bryce Harper and his daddy decide? We're going to get a GED because the high school pitchers wasn't pitching to him. So I'm going to go to junior college like Luke Collier did with his son. And now I'm playing pro ball. That same vehicle should be available for our players in the United States. These young kids sign at 15. They get their money at 15 and 16. If they don't pan out, they don't. We don't hear about them. We see them when they get to the big leagues. The problem, let's go back to the beginning, lack ownership, where we can control our destiny, where we say this kid deserves opportunity from a historical Black college because he can play. Super athlete. So basically that's all I wanted to share because the reality is right there before us. Mm-hmm. If it's not ownership, where are we going to get the opportunity? Well, you tell me.
Can I make a comment? You stated that so eloquently, right? But it's another factor that we got to add into this equation, and that's the skill. That's the skill set. Dusty Baker did one heck of a job managing that baseball team. You see how he maneuvered his pitchers. That when he went up to Philadelphia and won that game, he virtually shut him down. Shut him down. He took Well, he won the game, what, 4-3 in Philadelphia, and then he came back. He did a masterful job coaching. Now you got to remember, he was with the San Francisco Giants. He was with Chicago, Washington team down there, Harold, and now he finally struck gold. But he's a master strategist. He was a master strategist, and that comes from his playing days. You remember, Dusty used to crowd the plate, and the guys come in with a high fastball inside. Next thing they knew, it's out the park. Hey, well, how did he hit a home run like that? He's a student of the game, and I'm so happy for him because you know, the people in Washington, he put that team together, and they won the World Series the very next year, and they haven't done anything since, have they?
No, they haven't. And one of my players on that team, I had a player on that team pitching the World Series, Joey Ross, right here.
Who's the guy that left the Washington team?
Hold on, Mr. Blount. Hold on, Mr. Blount. Hold on. Hey, I want to say one thing what Hank Aaron said a long time ago. He said, the problem is we got to get an opportunity, just exactly what Bert Strane was saying. We are being not given the opportunities, man, to thrive. That's why the cheap labor, as I call it, come from the Caribbean. And in Atlanta, Georgia, I know they got a flux of great black ball players down there because of my friend, John Hollins, who introduced me to Bert Strane. So we got to find a way to get ownership, exactly as Bert has been saying. We got to have ownership, man. We got people pretending to be minority owners. They don't make no decision, no baseball decisions, and I don't have to keep calling their names. You know who they are, Bert, and they don't make any decision. They put these guys in the game to be spooks that's set by the door.
Here's another factor, and Tommy Lasorda, the late coach of the Los Angeles Dodgers, he said, we go down to the Caribbean, we go gold hunting. They were signing them guys for a bonus for $5,000 and $10,000. How you could compete? So that's why this is a capitalist society. And I tell people, watch them isms: fascism, communism, capitalism, Confucianism. Watch them isms. They'll trip you up every time.
Okay, somebody else want to come in before Mr. Blount come back? Who wants to take ask Bert a question about Dusty Baker, the future of young black men in the—
Come on in, Rick Bryson.
All right. Well, good evening, gentlemen. Yes, Mr. Strange, I have been involved with youth baseball, more so as an involved parent. We did some community things. So second to ownership, what's your suggestions to get more black youth involved in baseball? And also, what do you see positive happening in terms of our black youth baseball development?
Hey, great question. I'm telling you, Major League Baseball, a gentleman, Dale Matthews, Sarge's son, Ken Dew Jones in New York, are great people. And their whole concept is, it used to be the elite development program where the top 13 to 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids would go to Vero Beach, Dodger City. Now it's called the Hank Aaron Classic. Great program. You can't beat it. But it's only offered to 150 players across the United States. What Ken Griffey Sr. came up with many years ago, he presented a proposal, and I think it was maybe a $5 million package, which they wasn't going to pay anyway, a caravan. When I say a caravan, I'm not talking about getting a lot of ex-pros in a bus and going city to city. What I'm saying, you got ex-pro players that can teach in every part of the United States. So this Monday or this week, we're going to have this trial. We're not going to do a trial. We're going to do a workout, player development. Next month, we'll be back the same day. They got the money. So it's called player development. The problem with what they say about we African-American players, historical black college players, great athletes, poor mechanics. When I was scouting, my reports to my scouting director, good athletes need some work. You got to tell the truth. My concern is mechanics. I'm a sticker about it. When the gentleman was talking about Dusty, I recruited Dusty in '67. We've been talking baseball since '67. He's been flown into clinics on a helicopter when I'm on the ground waiting on him. So bottom line, Ron Washington, genius, bad boy. Wash is my guy. We do clinics. It's called player development. Now, after you have player development, you get in the batter's box and you're ready to play. Everything you learn, forget it. When you're between those lines, it's only 2 cardinal rules. Get a good pitch hit and be on time. All the other minutia is out. Get a good pitch hit and be on time. And see, we brothers with those quick twitch muscles, we some bad boys. But we have to be taught. That 8, 9-year-old kid can't come out and sit out and at 15, Dad, I want to play baseball. Don't work that way.
Yes.
It doesn't. But opportunity presents to every dad that's coaching Little League. His son is a shortstop. Hello. You only got 1 shortstop. You got 3 outfielders. T. Long shared that with me a long time ago when his son was 12 years old. And he says, I say, T was in the big leagues with the A's. I say, I know your son is shortstop. He say, no, He says 1 shortstop, but it's 3 out there. His son is pitching for Auburn, throwing 95. You got me? So the key to answer your question, Major League Baseball is doing something. They're doing what they see as best. The problem is only 150 kids when we can do this nationwide. John Young, the creative RBI, this was his vision. It wasn't his vision to create rec ball and Major League Baseball fans. No, his vision was to create baseball players that would go to college and matriculate into professional baseball. It wasn't rec ball. Even though they try to play it off, rec ball are creating fans. And I ain't mad at that. But the problem, the game has changed, and next year it's going to be different. So you'll see a different game. So that's all I got to say. I think that any players, any young parents, travel ball is the way. But Major League Baseball can make it a different way. Set up an academy. You heard me. They got the money. If you don't think they got the money, you've been asleep for 50 years. So that's all I got.
Well, see, there's another big factor in this equation. Them owners are in business to make money. And you make money by having a quality product on the field. I learned that in the spring of 1965 when the late owner of the Buffalo Bills, Ralph Wilson, sent a scout down to my school, undergrad school, Virginia State College, all around the campus looking for this one guy, Linwood Hart, out of Baltimore, Maryland, because he was trying to get to him before the NFL. He went to the dining hall. He went to the library. He went to the laundry mat. He said, I'm going to wait here because I got to sign him now. Somebody saw Linwood walking across the campus. There's a guy down here from Buffalo, New York. Go sign that contract and get that job. You got to have a quality product. What do you think the Super Bowl is all about? Selling ads, 30-second ads for $5 million for 30 seconds. That's the show they had. Then they spent another $10 million to make it. But anyway, maybe not that much.
We're gonna have you pump your brakes there, Mr. Blount. Pump your brakes. Hang on. Hey, Spivey, don't you know something about baseball, Spivey?
Yeah, I know a little bit about baseball. Fran made a statement a few minutes ago, and I nearly bust out laughing because I played Little League baseball, and my father was the coach, and I played shortstop.
I believe it.
And I went on and played shortstop in high school and college. I know a little bit about baseball, but one of the things I wanted to ask Mr. Strane, and I don't know whether it's the same way in baseball as it is in football, but I think that if it is, I think that the problem a lot of times is the owners, because I'm wondering if it's, as I said before, if it's the same in baseball as in football, because I remember years ago when Walter Payton retired from the Chicago Bears. I don't know if you remember, he tried to buy the Chicago Bears and the owners blocked him from making that purchase. Again, there was a situation with Dan Snyder, the coach of the Washington Commanders now. And from what I was hearing, the owners, because of all the trouble that he has encountered from the congressional investigation and everything else, they were going to try to force him to sell the team. And just recently, he's contacted the bank to entertain offers. So I'm just wondering, we talk about Black ownership, but say if you got people like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Shaq, could they purchase a Major League Baseball team, or would they possibly be blocked by the white owners?
Let me tell you what the National Football.
Oh man, hold, Mr. Blount. How would we let somebody else participate?
I was asking Mr. Strane because
hold on. Bert, come in and answer that question, please.
That is. Let me tell you why it's a good question. Because as you mentioned football, I didn't know that was the case football. But in baseball, it's mandatory that all ownership group, affiliates, ownership group vote in the new person. You follow me? They have to approve that new person. Financially, there was a black man that John Young, the creative RBI, knew that was a billionaire. Real estate investment, so forth. They chopped up all of his financial assets and say, we need to see this, we want that. And they took him through hell and high water, and he just said, forget it.
Yeah.
But they have to approve it. One of the issues, and let's be serious about this. I talked off network with Mr. Bell, and this is true to this day, and I can get castrated for it, but I'm gonna say it. The problem with when we make it to the big leagues, one of the issues is that there's a real fear on white ownership's part is that the brothers, because they're paying them, gonna want to date their daughters, date their wives, cousins. That's a reality. Let's be real with that. If we keep pushing that table, and that's why I tell my son played for Coach Tony Gwynn Sr. Anthony is a good friend of mine, his son. Anthony and my son are born 3 days apart. They lived in $1 million condo in San Diego all 4 years of college. He played for Coach Gwynn. And Coach Gwynn schooled Anthony. I ain't saying no more. Bottom line is that we don't consider that. Now, Latin brother, Cuban brother, Dominican brother, Taiwanese, Korean, they're not going to date the owner's wife or daughter. They're going to take their money, go back home, and spend it. So, I mean, that might sound a little crazy, but it's a reality.
It's not crazy because it's not crazy because that's what happened recently with the Celtics.
Hello.
Ooh.
So I'll rest my case right there.
Let me add a statement because he was so right about this ownership thing. The NFL has a rule where you have to have $700 billion.
Carlos, come on in, Carlos. Carlos, please come on in and participate in the program. Carlos?
Yes, sir. Yes. And I just want to say thank you guys for having me once again. You know, as the founder and president of Fairmont Heights Football Alumni Association, you know, we're in Prince George's County, Maryland, right next to Washington, D.C. And I'm working with youth every day trying to help them improve their athletics and their academics in the classroom. And, you know, one of the things we focus on annually is just making sure we paint positive examples through our annual Hall of Fame ceremony. The kids, when they see something like Dusty Baker, the manager of the World Series winning a team, they know now by seeing, believing. They know it can happen. In order for ownership to happen, again, everything you guys are saying, me working in corporate America the last 30 years, I've seen it there as well. The owner is only going to let certain people in if they feel comfortable having that person come in. Right. Generally, by a different background or ethnic background, they generally don't feel comfortable. So they're going to find every reason possible not to let them in. We have to find someone, or the business world has to find someone who can transcend that glass wall or glass ceiling, so we can get a minority owner in the fold. Once that happens in one sport, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, whatever it may be, then other young people, other young entrepreneurs, college graduates, these brilliant young minds will say, hey, there is a possibility that this could be me one day, and we'll slowly see progress over the decades. But we got to start with someone. And if you guys have a way to make that happen or know how to make it happen, I'm listening. But I believe that is to the future right now. All right.
I can real quick. Politically, when you go to the booth, if somebody puts it on the ballot, the antitrust exclusion that Major League Baseball has where they can do dang near anything they want, that's how they get away with that. Now, legislatively, somebody's got to change that rule. I don't know how that happened, but they control that. There's no doubt about it. They have the antitrust exclusion, tax rights, and all that other stuff. So they do what they want to do. Because, see, the product on the field, there's a being that you mentioned Washington, D.C., I did a clinic. I flew in from Atlanta to the place called the St. John's. It's in Springfield.
St. James.
Virginia.
St. James.
St. James.
Yeah.
756,000 square feet under one roof. Massive. Baseball, they call it the baseball hitting club. 20 cages. A field under the roof, a dimensional field. And this, I saw 2 or 3 brothers. I'm saying, wait a minute. This is close to DC. It's right there. Why ain't the brothers here? I did the clinic. They still owe me the money. Well, bottom line is that is a facility that I ask people that are in DC, did you know about it? A lot of them don't even know about it. They have tennis. They have all this stuff under one roof. Somebody, that's a government building there. That look like Microsoft or something, or Apple. I mean, it's a magnificent complex. But getting back to ownership, politically, somebody is going to have to take it to the ballot. And they keep pressuring, like now, all those job openings for those 5 managerial jobs. I asked Wash, I say, Wash, you in the scoop? He say, man, they interviewed me, but you find me Ron Washington. Heck, Washington could be a manager 7 times over. Those decisions that you guys were talking about, Dusty made about the pitching, my former teammate, Bert Strane, was his pitching coach at the Astros for the last few years, even when they won it before Dusty got there. So the idea about having a ownership, the product on the field will be totally different. I guarantee you. You'd have pom-poms on the dugout, the girls doing that. You'd have the Negro League reproduce. You'd have fandom. You'd have young people. You'd have a ton of things because it would be different. Because we do things differently. Entertaining. That's what it is, entertainment. And entertainment is gone, period.
Lawrence Lucas, man, come on in, Lawrence. We got you out there. He's laying back. Come on in, Lawrence.
Okay, I've been listening very carefully, and a few things come to mind. And one of the things, there's 2. One is, what is the criteria for being a coach, a head coach? The other thing is, the other question I have is generally when teams advance, and you'll find without the feeder, or what you call making sure that assistant coaches are also embedded in the process. So I would ask Mr. Blount, how do you get around knowing that there's certain criteria to be a coach? And what is being done to make sure there's feeders in the system? And I'm talking about assistant coaches.
You mean Mr. Strane?
Oh, geez, great question. Let me tell you the real simple answer to that. Dusty got the job in San Francisco after just managing in the Arizona Fall League. You follow me? Because Dusty's key feature, not only was a good player, but see, Dusty is a communicator. Dusty walks in the stadium and dang near gives the guy that sweeps the stadium a hug. That's how cool he is. I mean, the president, the owner of the Astros said that. That's his MO. So that's what Dusty, but to be a coach and a trainer, one, San Francisco Giants, and I'm not knocking women, I'm not doing this. All I'm saying is that they have 16 coaches, quote unquote, or thereabout. They're not called coaches anymore, they're called consultants. So in the real world, a consultant works for someone. You don't work, the player don't work for the consultant. So the game has changed, but you gotta know the game. You gotta be able to teach the game. Because you play in the big leagues don't mean you can teach or train. I've done clinics for big league outfielders, and all they said all day was come up, go back, come up, because they did it instinctually. The Lord blessed them to be a big league outfielder. So the idea about being a coach and a feeder system, let's go back to opportunity. You got to have the opportunity. Like I told you about Lonzo Powell. Ain't nobody qualified. He done played in the big leagues. He played with Marquise Grissom, played in outfield with Hall of Famers. So the idea about having your expertise, knowing what you're doing, being a good communicator, and now because of analytics, they said on the MLB channel, I was on there yesterday, and they said, why don't we do this? Instead of bringing Dusty out when they lose, and they talk about the moves that maybe he didn't make, and he got a call from upstairs from analytics, he says, why don't we bring the analytic guy down on the interview podium and sit with Dusty? And I responded to them. I said, real simple. Dusty is not going to allow that, for one. One, they don't want to put it on analytics because all analytics is that they're judging on previous past experiences. Well, when you get to the World Series, you ain't got no record. That pressure is unbelievable. You can barely breathe. My twin brother was at the Philly game on Wednesday. Everybody stood up. He couldn't see. He rooting for Houston. Well, bottom line is that that's a whole different thing. So you throw out analytics. Dude can't hit 95 today. You throw middle end Peter High 95 in the World Series. Where it going? Talk to Alvarez. You got me? So bottom line, all I'm saying is that experience, being a coach, you got to have it. But you got to be a communicator and opportunity. Bingo. That's all I got on that one.
Bert, I want to say, man, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I caught up with you the last minute. I don't want you to go anywhere because we're going to keep talking about the black athlete. And I know you know. Oh, I want to talk about should pro athletes shut up and dribble? You know, we hear that about the pro athlete. And one of the things that has happened, man, just recently, we're talking about Kyrie Irving. You know, this guy, you know, he might have said some things wrong, and he apologized. He gave $500,000 to the Jewish community organization, and they still suspended him 5 games. It looks like to me, I may be wrong, it looks like they're trying to deball him. Yeah, they want to castrate him. You know, it's a young boy. He probably made some mistakes, and the same thing with Keon West. What's the boy? Keon West. Same thing. These young black brothers need to be in touch with people like Bert Strane. They need to be in touch with Dusty Baker, man, to get the correct information on how to deal with these folks. Because my thing is this, man. There's no way in hell that I can afford to be a racist. You understand? As a black man. Some of my greatest friends were Red Auerbach, Bert Sugar, Angelo Dundee, Richard Nixon. All these folks helped me to be where I am today. And so the young folks, you know, they got a whole different perspective of what's going on. But what is happening, man, the system is hiring. You know, we don't have common sense no more. Common sense is out the door. It's not common. They're hiring brothers that they set, who become spooks that sit by the door, man. And they keep other brothers out. We got to learn from people like Bert Strane, and like I said, Dusty Baker. Where are we, man, when we look at a Donovan Mitchell, of course, who was with Utah, who challenged the politicians up there when they tried to put creative, critical thinking teaching into the curriculum in the schools. He said, hell no, I'm not going for that. And he challenged them and they lost. So black athletes got to stand up, and they can't be, you know, telling them to shut up and dribble, which I think is strange. I like to start off with Bryson. Come on in, Bryson. We run out of time now. Mr. Blount must have dealt. This was his show, man. We ain't got but an hour. Come on in, Bryce.
Okay, I'll keep it short, but Mr. Strand, I'm gonna need to go back and I'll reach out to Harold to get your contact information because I want to follow up on some things. But as you were saying, Mr. Bell, my thing is, if you don't know what you're talking about, you need to shut up. So I'm not, I'm gonna have a little pushback now with Kyrie Irving dealing with the Anti-Defamation League. That's a situation where yes, he did. To me, he did something that he didn't know the ramifications of.
Right.
And then getting back to what you alluded to, I don't know who's around these kind of guys to give them advice. I think you need to get them your number. So that's my take.
Okay, Gary, come on in. I know you got something.
Well, you know, there used to be a school of thought that a Black person could not be racist because they didn't have the power to change any of the systems in place. But that doesn't mean that when you have Kanye, who at one time, by all accounts, was a legitimate billionaire, being able to say and do things, that doesn't mean he still wasn't threatening. And that the system, because every system has a need to replicate itself, no matter how much of a jackass he may have been, he was still a billionaire. And the system probably was saying, you know what, we need to make an example out of this young man and take him down a peg or two, or three, or four, or $500 million. And now he's just a petty little multi-millionaire. That's one school of thought. But like Dr. Bryson said, man, you got to know, you got to be a student of the game. And if you don't know what you don't know, then ask and try to get some help. But they don't have mentors. There's not enough mentors around.
Yeah. Bill Spivey, come on in, Bill. I know you want to add on to that.
Yeah, I to echo what Gary was saying, I think Kyrie Irving, he apologized for what he said, and it seems like it's fallen on deaf ears. It's something that they don't want to hear. And as Gary said, Kyrie is a person who is threatening because Kyrie has a large audience. And I'm not a big advocate of Shannon Sharpe, but he said something the other day on Undisputed. And he said the message that Kyrie was trying to relate may not have been the wrong message, but Kyrie was just the wrong messenger for that message.
Right.
And that's something that you need to take into account. But a lot of people dismiss Kyrie, but you got to remember, Kyrie is not stupid. Kyrie went to Duke, and he didn't go to Duke because he could play basketball. He went to Duke because he was a good student, and he was a student of the game of basketball. So, and going back to the other gentleman you mentioned, Kanye West, a lot of people say he's crazy, but I listened to an interview of his recently, and he talked about the thing we were just relating to about Black ownership. He was talking about Blacks in entertainment, how they are controlled by a small group of people. And the reason that these small group of people control these Black entertainers is because they control the distribution. And if you can control the distribution, you can control the people. And that is one of the things that, you know, we got to get into the distribution, and we got to get into the ownership in order to change things. But they're going to really try to take Kyrie Irving down. I think Gary, a little lower than a peg.
Yeah. Carlos, come on in, Carlos.
Hey guys, definitely some great points. I mean, like I said, whether you're in professional sports, collegiate sports, corporate America, the bottom line is once you make a statement or put a message out that's that could have the ramifications that Kyrie Irving did or Kanye West, the biggest issue, like I heard, was mentorship. At some point they have to know before they hit return, enter, submit, that when they hit that keystroke, that could change their lives, that could change their financial impact on what they can earn as a performer or athlete. And once you take that money away, then you start to take away your ability to have legitimacy in the community and with your message. So what I'm learning from what you guys are saying and what I've seen out here is I have to try to work with the young men that I'm working with in our program, nonprofit program, to make sure they start to learn responsibility about thinking before they make that post or before they submit that post or before they say that thing. Because if they can start at a younger age, they'll have a much better understanding by the time they get to college or the professional level. And it's not going to end with just professional sports. I mean, again, I work for one of the largest companies, financial companies in the world. And if I post something on social media that reflects or has an opportunity to piggyback off something that is occurring on my job, I'm going to get called out. I may have a possibility of losing my job. And again, once it's done, even though I can apologize several times, it's always going to be there. So I think hopefully we as a community will learn a lot from the mistakes of Kyrie Irving and Kanye West and use those misfortunes to help the next generation do a much better job. Because again, we need them on the path to become not only great in the community in athletics and academics. We need them to become CEOs. We need them to become coaches on the professional level, and we definitely need them in the ownership box. That's my take.
Luke, come on, Lucas. Lawrence.
I've been carefully listening, and I think it's one thing, and I've been watching TV, and I'm trying to kind of decipher what really is what he said. And I think when people speak out and they disagree with a piece of or part of a section of society, you stand to lose your credibility. But I think that and this is away from what they said. I think you still need to have the political courage to speak out when there's a wrong. You still need that vehicle in your brain cells, in your courage and your political wherewithal to tell the truth. And what we have now is that when people touch on a piece of the truth, it may not be the whole truth, but they only pick out the piece that they want to use to get at you telling the truth, but they're not listening to the whole truth.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be a little confusing, but I'm involved in politics and I've been watching this. And I believe that anytime a Black person speaks out and steps out from the norm, there's going to be a whole lot of people, including Black people, who are going to want to put him in his place.
That's right.
That's what I want to leave you with, that thought.
Come on back in, Bert. Come on, Bert, follow up on that. I know you got something to say on that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got something to say about that last subject. What we keep forgetting is that the American public, at least the basketball public, is still upset with Kyrie Irving because he didn't get his vaccination. My daughter is an African-American collegiate instructor. She educated me the other night. We talked about the same subject because she said, well, Kyrie Irving is a Muslim. He said he didn't want to get the shot. Period. I didn't know he was a Muslim. I didn't know that was the reason. Everybody's still mad at him about not playing basketball. Who does this Negro think he is? Da. Well, just like the gentleman just said, he said the truth, but they only took a little bit of it so they can come back. But they already didn't like him. They still don't like him about basketball. He made a stand. When you started the program, what was that famous individual by the name of Muhammad Ali that went through the same thing? That a lot of Black people said, you ought to stay in your place. You ought to do this. You ought to box. Come on now. History is repeating itself. And the mentors are necessary for Kyrie. I don't know Kanye's thing, but bottom line is that the brother's got a good heart, but they hate him and he's going to keep getting bashed. I would, and talk my dribble, I'd be cool if I was him. I'd just be cool. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Blount, come on in. We're running out of time, Mr. Blount. You disappeared on us. Come on back in.
Get off mute.
Get off mute. Get off mute.
Jim, get off mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
There's another element we have to deal with, and it's called politics. I live in a part of the country where the Seneca Nation, the Seneca Native People of America, the Seneca Niagara Falls Casino, they made a pact with the state of New York, and they put $514 million in an escrow to be given to the state. That's part of their lack of paying taxes. The governor of the state of New York took the $500 million, which was supposed to go to help school systems, build buildings for kids in schools, small towns, neighborhoods with their infrastructure, telephone lines, etc. She took the money and gave $540 million to the billionaires, the Pagulas, to build a football stadium. The Seneca Nations are upset, obviously, because that money was redirected. So that's the political environment that we live in, and we got to change that.
Thank you, thank you. I want to say this, man. People always say sports and politics don't mix. Well, let me tell you, in 1972, when I came on the scene with Inside Sports, sports and politics were the foundation of Inside Sports. Sports and politics are one of the same. All of a sudden now, ESPN comes on the scene, and all of a sudden they get upset with their guys who doing talk show that they can't talk about politics anymore. Why is that? Because it's affecting their bottom line. That's what it is. It's affecting their bottom line. Sports and politics, I mean, all you got to do is look at this and see the people that I've been interacting with for the past 50 years. They are politicians, they are professional athletes, they are entertainers, they're across the board. So all this stuff I'm always talking about, sports and politics don't mix. That ain't nothing but some BS. It don't mix when it affects you. But if it helps you, it's okay to go along with that. Okay, come on, Gary. We run out of time. Come on.
Well, you're right. It's all about the bottom line. And we'll just have to see what happens with, I guess one of my mentors told me, don't judge people by what they say, judge them by what they do. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of talk out there, but we have to see what happens with the Commanders. What happens with all these other people that may want to get into ownership? Let's see what happens.
Well, one of the things too I want to touch on Bubba, the race car driver, Bubba Wallace. And his NASCAR been national, been big for years. You understand? Had very few blacks in there. You know, I know Bill Lester personally. I know the Willie T. I know all, and they have caught hell trying to break into NASCAR. And the boys and the white boys in NASCAR, they've been fighting for years. They've been getting out, going to everywhere to punch out a guy who they thought was doing them wrong. But as soon as Bubba takes up for himself in a dangerous sport, a race car can be worse than a gun. So he said, I'm not taking this. So now when he comes back after being suspended for a series, he comes back and they boo him. You understand? Why are they booing him? Because the complexion of his skin. Yeah. What else? Don't we have some other videos where we're gonna run today?
Yeah, let's run something, because particularly since we talked about Dusty, he certainly deserves his props. And we got a short video here about how the crowd just loves them some Dusty
Baker had managed the most games ever without a World Series title. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now they quit talking about it.
Has it hit you yet? You got mobbed in the dugout after it was over. You had to hold on to the fence so you didn't topple over.
Yeah.
Has it hit you yet, Dusty?
Oh, it hit me all right. It hit me as soon as that ball, Jordan hit over the moon out there. That's when it hit me.
What has been the most enjoyable thing about this whole run for you?
Well, now that hadn't sunk in yet, to tell you the truth. But, you know, how about them Astros? Hey, this is the greatest bunch of guys. They told me in spring training that they were going to win it. Now, what's next? Party.
Dusty, enjoy it. Dusty Baker.
Man, thank you.
Wow, Mr. Strane, make you feel to see your buddy out there like that?
Oh, man, it warms my heart. I asked him for that birthday present. He came back immediately and said, you got it. That was a big quest to get the World Series win. The wristband, not so much. But yeah, I mean, just to have somebody that's worked really hard in the diplomacy of base. Because see, we talked a lot when he wasn't working, when he was at the winery. Dusty has Baker Energy Company, which I'm a part of, and I help in doing solar things with Dusty. But more importantly, he has a wine business that he was in with Hank Aaron. He has a tasting center in Sacramento, first class. I mean, top of the mark. So that's where I'm gonna get my wristbands when he get back home. We're gonna have some wine at his place. Yes,
Well,
great.
as we get ready to get out, I want to remind something that Dusty said when it came up to him into the World Series, or when he was going into the World Series. Some reporter asked him about, you know, the absence of Black American players in the game. And Dusty said, you know, wow, man, you know, I am ashamed of Major League Baseball. Dusty has been through so much, man. He's been up, been down. He's seen it all. So it's hard to get anything past him. But when he said he's ashamed of Major League Baseball, don't think these folks, these reporters are going to forget that. But he's going to be able to handle it because he has the world on his side. You know, a class guy who has done so much for others. And you just heard from Bert how this brother has not forgotten who he is and where he came from. And we go through, I've been through that 100 times over. Athletes suddenly make it, get $2 more than you. They think they're better than you, and you were there with them when they had nothing. That's not Dusty Baker. We need more Dusty Bakers, man. So Bert, man, I want to, you know, say thank you, man, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I got to get you and John Hollins back here to really tell us the overall story, what you just told us, man, because he's doing a fantastic job down there in Atlanta. Is he not, Bert?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Ron Washington is the guru of what he does. He's changed the whole game of infield work that people are trying to adopt all around the world. And he's right in everything that he's doing with that. Yeah, he's bad boy.
Yeah, John went to he went to Las Vegas on this today with Tiki. Did he? Yeah, he's I'm gonna catch y'all on the rebound. Well, what I want to do, I want to give everybody 1 minute as we go out of here, and you know, give us you know, whatever you got to say. Let's take that minute. Let's start over here with Carlos. Carlos.
Hey guys. Hey, always a pleasure, like I said, to be here. And, you know, definitely what we're looking at is using people like Dusty Baker as an example of excellence and giving our youth an opportunity to understand that great things can be achieved if you continue to work at it, you continue to give your all. And, you know, and we can't let things like Bubba Wallace's situation, you know, deter us because, you know, Bubba has worked very hard to break into a field that is, you know, dominated by another ethnic background. And he's holding his own. And just because something unfortunate happened, we can't let that deter us. We have to continue to try to break down barriers, take down walls, and continue to move forward. So whether it's, you know, by making, you know, hopefully better decisions with, you know, our social media posts for all the young people, remembering to think about the consequences of, you know, the best case and worst case scenarios before you press, you know, enter, return, or submit. I think the key is we just have to continue to prepare the next generation for success on and off the field and whatever other endeavors in life they may be pursuing. So that's my take from today. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Bill Spivey, come on, Bill.
Well, I got a question I want to pose to Blount and also to Bert. You know, you always get on me about doing research.
Yeah.
And so I did a little research prior to the show, and I found that there were only 2 current Black managers, and that was Dusty Baker and Dave Robinson. And also, if Dusty won this World Series, that he would be the 3rd Black manager to win the World Series. So I'm gonna close out with a question to Bert and to Blount. Is Dusty going into the Hall of Fame? Because those other guys that I mentioned, they didn't go into the Hall of Fame.
Dusty is guaranteed.
Oh yeah, he's gone. He's into the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
You
I
think
already
so?
told you, when he's there, I'm gonna be in the audience.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Bryson, Dr. Bryson, come on, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you again. Great show, Mr. Strane. I really appreciate what you said. I'll be reaching out to you. I'll just make it very brief here. Your insight is tremendous. And I think one of the challenges is, and I think this program here is a good forum for that, is to disseminate this information to the masses that are a number of young people that I've crossed paths with want to get in baseball. Their families want to get them into baseball, but I think they need that mentoring, and the things that you've shared, I think is invaluable to them. So thanks for the input, and hopefully we can follow up on this.
Okay, Mr. Blount, you got a minute.
I want to thank you for the show, and just remember, excellence will win out in the long run over stupidity. And we see that personified in the NBA. What do you think the NBA is doing there? Recruiting players from overseas, from Eastern Europe, Western Europe. The colleges are doing the same thing. Gonzaga, University of Alabama. So excellence will always win out.
Thank you. Okay, Lawrence Lucas, where are you, Lawrence?
He's out.
He's out. Okay.
I'll take his minute.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll blend sports and politics and quote James Blount.
Oh yeah.
Get up, get into it, get involved.
Amen.
Vote.
And I just want to say this, that remember that every black face you see is not your brother or sister, and every white face is not your enemy. And for those folks out there who are what we call instigators, who standing by watching what's going on, you cannot soar with eagles if you're hanging out with chickens. So until next time, I'm Harold Bell, and you can color me gone.
That's true. That's true.